Elis James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
Thank you for downloading the Elis James and John Robbins podcast from the XFM website or iTunes. It's up to you. I'm sure some weird from, I don't know, Basingstoke has maybe put it on some sort of torrent as well. Do people still do that?
Oh, yeah. Also, I got someone tweeted me asking if there was a non-iTunes link to the podcast, and I genuinely had no idea that was even possible.
Why would you want that?
I don't know, it's a bit like someone asking for a paper copy of your texts. Can I have the rough drafts of that? I didn't know. I mean, there must be. It's for people who are sort of anti-Apple, I guess, who have Zooms. Remember that Microsoft version of the Zoom that looked like a sort of a big chunk of Caramac? And obviously at no point in the design process saw the flaw in releasing a sort of mushy pea-coloured MP3 player.
Every time you saw someone use it on the tube or on the train, you'd be like, shouldn't that be in a vending machine?
Or in the TAs. It's like a camouflaged MP3 player. Anyway, I have no idea if there is a link to a non-iTunes podcast.
That's legal.
It's obviously a gap in the market. Oh, but you can go to the XFM website as well, but that may just link to iTunes. So I don't know. Get right, Steve Jobs. Nothing because of his tragic demise. So whatever.
Don't involve Steve.
And certainly don't bother his family with a request for a non-iTunes link to the Elis James and John Robbins podcast, especially at this time.
Can you imagine that? Because, well, I mean, it really does put his death into perspective, doesn't it? But either way, if you need a non-iTunes version of the podcast, there might be one, but I can't help you because I don't know, because I would use iTunes. Yeah,
and that's from a man who has no apps on his iPhone anyway.
No, not one.
So,
Grandad, that's what they call me, at the youth club.
So, I hope you enjoy the show. It was pretty good. It was great. Was it great?
It was fine. We did the job.
Wow. God, Elis really knows how to undersell himself. I was phenomenal.
Yeah, you were good. And I kept a steady hand on the tiller.
So do tune in next week on Sunday at 10 o'clock for the live show. Thanks very much. Love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
FM. Elis James and John Robbins podcast.
Our text topic for today comes from a story I have, which I'm going to tell you now, Elis James. And one night, a while ago, I was in my house after a gig, nicely berummed and...
He means drunk.
No, pleasantly... ruminating on the days.
You've been drinking rum,
yes,
if anyone's still confused.
I'd been drinking rum. And I was at a lovely stage of ready for bed, probably about 1 a.m. after the gig. And just as I was getting into bed, my mobile phone rang, and it was my dad calling from Canada. Now, everyone's dad is different, but whenever my dad's name appears on my phone, I kind of think, right, strap in for a stressful conversation, shall we say.
Okay.
Sort of a Mike Lee pilot.
Okay.
And so I answered the phone, and it was clear from the off that it was going to be quite a testing exchange for various reasons we won't go into. But
keep it light.
But I had finished my rum, and I needed sustenance for the phone call. So I sort of had him on the phone, and I was racking the house to find alcohol, and I couldn't...
Not causing your dad any worry then?
No.
What are you doing? Nothing, I'm just looking. I'll drink anything, mate.
And so all the cupboards were bare. I'd used up my allocation. So I had to invent a cocktail using the only 2 alcoholic products in my house, which on that occasion were Chinese rice wine and mouthwash. Both of which technically have alcohol in, and I created an emergency cocktail which I called the Oral Biental. So we've been asking, what cocktails have you created due to necessity or arrogance that have been an absolute disaster or have been an unmitigated success? I'm going to start the ball rolling with a cracking text we've had, which is, hasn't everyone tried vodka tea? Which I think the answer to which is no.
Absolutely not.
Maybe the odd sort of rich housewife going through a breakdown.
I could be on a desert island for 1,000 years with tea bags and Smirnoff, and I would think to combine the two wouldn't even cross my mind.
So what's the weirdest thing you've ever drunk, Al?
There's a very, very cheap Welsh lager called Double Dragon.
Double Dragon.
Christmas Day, I've had a few cans of that, but it doesn't get you drunk because it's about 1%.
But Double Dragon sounds like it should be it sounds like sort of White Lightning.
Yeah, my dad used to keep it in the drinks cabinet, so I remember the cans being dusty.
Oh yeah.
I just made my childhood sound rubbish, but my dad didn't drink very much when I was growing up.
Is it like mild?
It was, I think so. I mean, we're going back a while. I haven't drunk it since I was 8 or 9.
You drank
again? That sounds bad. I mean, just a sip because I was.
It's like a Shane Meadows film.
I was just curious. No, I wasn't.
This is Carmarthen.
I wasn't struggling at primary school and drowning my sorrows with a pint of mild. Do you know Richard Burton started smoking it at 12?
Frank Zappa started smoking at 9.
Wow!
There's a photo of him. I think he's 9 years old. He's got a moustache and smoking a fag. Absolutely brilliant.
Was Frank Zappa born with a moustache?
Pretty much.
Yeah. I can grow a beard. It's the tash that I had big sides about 3-4 months ago. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
All the way down to the jawline. Proper sort of mid-70s Welsh rugby player sides, and they were met with disregard by the female community, who, as one, all said to me, "What on earth are you doing? Shave off your sides, it looks terrible."
Elis James and John Robbins podcast
XFM.
on XFM.
This is XFM. I'm John Robbins. To my left is Elis James, who's been treating us to a miscellany of noises while the songs are on. We've had clearing of throats, sneezing, and then
Big coughs.
He had the arrogance to begin eating a pot of sliced mango. So
into the mic, at which point Dave the producer turned my mic down because it was disgusting. Well,
I should have.
You should have done. John, the look on your face, I mean, a thunderous scowl.
I cannot deal with the sound of people eating at all.
Neither can I.
I had a French exchange,
Right.
My French exchange partner would eat cornflakes louder than I think it probably...
Louder than war.
Louder than war. And he would then pick them out of his brace.
Oh. that is so French.
I would leave him in the conservatory and I would just leave the room. Just because I didn't know the French for what the heck do you think you're doing, insane man?
You didn't just go, "Je n'aime pas."
No, I thought maybe I got to distract him by telling him what was in my pencil case. Anyway, we've been asking what drinks mixes have you sort of been forced into by a lack of access to suitable booze, or by the arrogance of thinking you're some kind of cocktail superstar. And the switchboards have lit up. It's obviously something that people have often got into at the end of a party. We've got a great one here from Sian, who texts in to say that her boyfriend had ideas of being a cocktail waiter, and one night at a party convinced everyone he could make mojitos from the mint in their garden. But as he was on the tipsy side and the light wasn't very good, ended up serving a round of rum and dock leaves.
I thought it was going to be rum and stinging nettles. That would have been incredible, wouldn't it?
Well, the rum and dock leaves would counteract the stinging nettles.
You just drink one first, followed up with a sort of dock leaf daiquiri.
Oh, Sue says on Facebook, I love the way that this ends. Back in the day, when the ubiquitous souvenir from a Spanish Costa holiday was a net of miniature liqueurs, we put them all in a glass. So this is, she says, creme de menthe, blue Curaçao, hierbas. I've not even heard
Blue
of that.
Curaçao was a big divorcee drink in Carmarthen in the 1990s. When I was working behind the bar, I used to work in a nightclub that only allows in over 25s, and a big divorcee haunt, and they used to come in and drink Blue Curaçao and lemonade and go hog wild.
Did they? What was it called, the nightclub?
It's called Savannah's. It's still. I had my 18th birthday party, actually. But the Blue Caraco, God, when the girls are on that.
And she goes on to say, they made a pint of sludge green bile that our friend Richard drank whilst, I recall, wearing his mum's dress. That's the little detail at the end of that speaks of a far darker sort of mindset to this guy.
FM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on XFM. Let's get a couple more cocktail texts and tweets. This is from Tom Goodliff at the Edinburgh Fringe 2012. He's another comic. I lived on the noisiest corner in town, Nicholson Square, directly above the curry house, bins and bus stops. I had to knock myself out to go to sleep every night. God, that's a bleak image, isn't it? But I'm more of a dessert guy than a drinker. Oh, come on, Tom. So one night I tried mixing amaretto and chocolate milk.
Wow, that's very sweet.
Yeah, that's sickly.
I imagine your teeth would rot because of that. That's the sort of thing you get on those like makeover shows where people go to the dentist. They're like, "What do you eat?" And nothing apart from a bottle of chocolate milk and amaretto every day.
Yeah, every day. That's fine. And then I don't brush my teeth because I think it's bad luck. And my cleaner.
You have a cleaner?
No, when I was at Cardiff University, when I was in the halls of residence. She used to have 8 sugars in her tea.
That's completely mad.
It's berserk, isn't it? I mean, her teeth were medieval. Hope you're doing well, by the way.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
That was Luna by Bombay Bicycle Club. You're listening to XFN. XFN. If you are listening to XFM, then turn it off and churn into. Oh my God!
And start churning. Churns.
You are listening. Why? Yes. If only you'd written this on big bits of. Oh bloody hell! You are listening to XFM. I could be that breathy woman. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM.
Banter is I would be that guy.
That's quite seedy. So
he is.
Right, now we are about to get into our regular feature, Sacred Cows. Oh, lordy. So this is the time of the day, the show, where we discuss those bands that you see on the front cover of like Uncut and NME every other week, and you just think, I don't get it. And last week we had the Sex Pistols. I'm still quite angry about that the Sex Pistols, the Sex Pistols are in the Pedikov Sacred Cause. Sorry, I turned into a German fashion guru then, for some reason. Don't know why I said that.
You don't look like one. In your leather lederhosen.
So currently the Sex Pistols are chewing the cud in the paddock of sacred cows, and I'm very angry about that. So this week I am nominating an artist who I am sure will be sent to the abattoir of being overrated. And this week I'm quite pleased to say the artist I'm nominating for Sacred Cows is Mr. Bruce Springsteen. There he is.
Oh dear. I'm also pleased you nominated Bruce, because we agree on this. We disagree on the Sex Pistols, we disagree on lots of things, but The Boss, I think, is massively overrated, and I do not understand why magazines like Mojo put him on the cover and apparently sell copies.
Oh, he's massive. He's untouchable in America.
He sold out Hyde Park a couple of times in the summer, didn't he? I mean, he is huge over the year as well.
He regularly plays for over 4 hours.
Oh, that's too long.
In those sort of, he looks like Jeremy Clarkson in those tight denim jeans, sweaty, and just playing the same song again and again and again.
Also 4 hours. He's like a sort of earnest, sort of American Ken Dodd, but with added saxophone. I don't like the. I mean, I've got no problem with the saxophone, but he uses such cheesy saxophone, and it's over everything I seem to hear by Bruce Springsteen. I just think, turn it off, Bruce.
I was having a chat about this with someone last night, and they said, "Oh no, but you got to check out Nebraska. You got to listen to Nebraska." And I listened to Nebraska before I came in this morning, and it is dirge, drivel. It's just all the same, and I just don't get that whole pretending to write songs about
the
white-collar Americans. He should be someone I like. I think that's the thing. He should be someone I go crazy for.
Although he's one of those people. I'm sure he's quite a good bloke, so I feel quite bad criticising, because I'm sure he cleans up after himself. I mean, sorry. I mean, like cups of polystyrene cups of coffee and stuff when he's been in the studio or when he's in the dressing room before going on Jonathan Ross. I'm sure he
wouldn't use polystyrene cups, I don't reckon, because I reckon he's got one of those big mugs that says "World's Best Boss." Also, he gave himself that nickname, didn't he? Which is awful.
Did he? Sting give himself his own nickname as well.
What's Sting's nickname?
Sting.
Oh right, I see. Anyway, so it's not just me and Elis, because we are agreed that we don't think springers should get in the paddock of sacred cows. We are going to speak on the line to London's premier Springsteen apologist.
XFM.
On the line we have London's premier Springsteen apologist, Pete. Pete, are you there?
Hello, speaking.
Hello, Pete. Now, I believe you know Mr. Elis James.
I do actually, yes. For my sins, yes.
And
my sins.
And he said earlier, that
there have been sins.
I can't wait to hear this. He said earlier that because we were going to call you, and he said that you started to walk towards the studio, and I didn't know that I thought you lived in Wales. So I had this vision of one of Elis's Welsh friends going, "They need me on the wireless, so I shall set off with a big sort of chunk of cheese in your tied in a neckerchief around a stick."
I'm on the Severn Bridge now as we speak.
Oh, goodness! Don't do it.
Windswept. Yes.
It's probably it's windswept.
Oh God! If you're going to do that, we'll play Bruce Springsteen. It's fine.
So, Pete, we're talking about Springsteen now. Both me and Elis feel that he's kind of very overrated, and I just wanted to read you. This is a quote from a Guardian journalist called Dorian Linsky, and this for me sums up Bruce Springsteen. Right? He says.
Okay.
Someone like Tom Waits makes me feel like I understand America a little better. Springsteen makes me feel hopelessly estranged from the place, with his hyperventilating soap operas about young lovers riding out of this one-horse town on the back of a hurricane down the highway of dreams. Now, I think that's perfectly sums up for me. Like Bruce Springsteen, all this sort of cod epic. I would say he's actually quite close to Meatloaf. But at least Meatloaf isn't earnest about it. He knows it's kind of pompous. So how do you answer that?
Well, I have no idea what any of you are talking about. I'm firmly in the blue-collar corner, and I'm ready to fight for the boss.
So what do you like about Bruce Springsteen?
I like the fact I can do a very good impersonation of him.
Right, well, that's not a reason for someone's critical acclaim.
How are you all doing out there?
Was that Bruce Springsteen or a man with emphysema?
See, what you can understand with the boss is he laughs after everything he says. He does that. Like he's got emphysema after everything he says. And as someone who's seen him live 7 times.
7 times?
It must have taken you like a year of your life to do that.
I've seen grown men cry during a 4-hour Springsteen gig. And I know that's so in an open goal for you boys there in the studio.
I would be starting to well up after about 2 hours thinking, I'm going to miss the last tube.
I mean, the output of the man. I mean, Elis, when you were still in your Welsh football shorts, the guy was on his 15th album. I mean, you can't
6 months ago.
with output like that. I mean, the man's a workhorse.
Okay, so far we've got from you the fact that he laughs after his own jokes and that he is hard-working. Have you, Elis?
Yeah.
That could be any of my dad's friends.
Have you met him?
I have. I had a frankly disastrous meeting with him.
Oh, tell us about that.
I was fortunate enough to be invited to his after-show party after a gig in Crystal Palace back in 2003, and I didn't exactly cover myself in glory. I'm a Welshman, I'm a simple kind of guy. I'd never seen free champagne before, so I got stuck in, and I wobbled over to him. I dreamt of it this moment for years, for decades, in my own little personal, private Nebraska of my bedroom. For decades, I dreamt about meeting the boss, and there he was, and he was actually crouched down talking to Beth Orton. Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
He was chatting to Beth Orton, and I should have waited for him to get up and finish his conversation and straighten up, but I'd waited long enough. I'd waited decades. So I wobbled up to him a little bit tipsy, and I said, Bruce, can I get a picture? And he looked up at me, and he sort of went maybe a little later. Now, I knew I'd crossed the line because he didn't laugh after that. Now, if he'd laughed, if he'd said, maybe a little later, it would have been fine, but he didn't. I crossed the line, I retreated, and he did a shooing motion with his hand. This is my hero, you're going to remember now.
Oh, being shooed by your hero.
And at the time, so now whenever I listen to him, I've got this vision of him shooing me away, and at the time, he was sporting like a sculpted beard, so the image is really, really quite just a harrowing one. And not what a Bruceophile really wants to do. I still love the guy.
Bruceophile. Goodness me, that sounds like something that's going to be all over the BBC website for the months to come. I'm not so sure you've really fought his corner, Pete. I mean, he's shooed you away as a fan. He's left you feeling sad.
I should never have approached a crouching Springsteen. He was like a coiled rock god.
It's like a sort of an old Chinese saying.
I found out the hard way, that's not what you do. And, I'd like to apologise to Bruce if he's listening.
He's a big fan of the show.
Remember me? So, Bruce, I'm so sorry.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
You're listening to XFM with John Robbins and Elis James. Before that track, we were talking with Welsh Pete about Bruce Springsteen, and we're about to find out whether Bruce is going to make it to the paddock of sacred cows or whether he'll be consigned to the abattoir. I'm just going to sum up briefly the arguments. I think me and Elis argued quite well that the music is over-epic, pompous, it's repetitive, overblown, and it sort of smacks of, I think...
How many one-horse towns can there be? I know America's a big place.
They need more horses. It's just the same old thing. And also, I think there's something slightly insincere about a millionaire musician continuing to pretend that he works in a steel mill.
Yeah, and why has he always got an oily rag in his back pocket? It's like he's been changing his neighbour's clutch.
And then we spoke to Pete, who sort of left us feeling quite sorry for him because he thought that the good things about Springsteen is he laughs at his own jokes. He releases a lot of albums, which is never a sign of...
No.
I mean, Zappa released over 90 albums.
Did he?
Yeah. And they're all awesome. They're all awesome. God, I nearly slagged off my hero then. They're all absolutely fantastic, but I don't think having released 18 albums means you're automatically brilliant. So... it's going to be up to producer Dave. So, Dave, we're on tenterhooks here.
Yeah.
Are we going to be driving around in a beat-up 50s Chevy around the cactuses and tumbleweeds, or will we get a break from this guy?
Well, I came into this argument with, little preconceptions because I'm not actually very knowledgeable on Bruce Springsteen, which I think was good for this argument, and I think you two really gave him quite a hard time. You both really went to town, actually, for a good 5 minutes.
How many horses
each.
were in the town?
And then Pete came along, and I didn't really do Bruce too many favours, actually, because he made Bruce look a bit mean.
Yeah.
Also, I heard a couple of years ago that he played a Glastonbury set of about 3 hours with about one hit in the whole set, which, the fans don't want, I don't think. So, although Sex Pistols entered the paddock last week for the Sacred Cow, today I'm consigning Bruce Springsteen to the abattoir.
Yes! Oh, American teenagers who are in love or not in love can buy another horse. Bruce Springsteen is consigned to the abattoir.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
It's time. I'm sure you've been on tenterhooks if you listened last week for one of my favourite features, textual healing.
Textual.
Textual. Yes, we asked for your problems this week on the XFM Facebook page, and for problems for John and I to solve, because we take slightly differing approaches to matters of the heart. And we had a cracking email in from a person who wishes to remain anonymous.
That's absolutely fine.
Absolutely fine, fair enough. Here we go. I recently came out of a relationship that ended pretty awfully. Usual cluster plop type thing. Not actually sure what he means by that. I vowed never to have a relationship again and set about making up for lost time playing the field. I have 4 dates in my diary with different people, 2 of which are definite do-it-withers. I don't know what's led him to that conclusion. Then, out of nowhere, I think I've met the woman of my dreams. We've only kissed once on the lips, but get on so well, and I'd like things to get serious. That said, I'd really like to have my single time with the people I've arranged to see. What do I do? Oh, it's an age-old problem, isn't it? Do I see the other people in and around things moving forward? He hasn't written his email very well. Do I see the other people in and around things moving forward with this new person? Or do I mug them off to remain chaste for her? What I like about that last sentence is that he's both managed to sort of embody Danny Dyer and Chaucer with his use of language. Or do I mug them off or remain chaste for her?
So basically he's saying he's seen himself having a good sort of 12 months of oats, but of sowing
yes,
oats.
I mean, you mean having sex with women, not
Yeah.
like eating ready break.
No. But amongst his oat fest has come... So she's
Ever been called that?
No.
Sex ever been called an
Well,
oat fest?
I'm trying to be tacit.
Yes, okay.
But amongst all of that, suddenly out of nowhere, she's almost arrived too early on the scene.
Yeah.
So he wants to have his sex cake and eat his love
Ready break.
okay. At the same time, which is, carb heavy, if anything.
Which you don't want before a big oat session.
What?
So I'm doing it now.
What do you think? I mean, you're not a Quaker Zoats man, but you're not what would you say? Because you've had quite a few long-term relationships. Well, I'm saying
Yes.
you're not an oat sower
No.
necessarily.
No. I mean, not for want of trying. No, well, I've been going out with my girlfriend for over 4 years, and she's the one. She's listening. Thanks. Sorry.
Get her a buck token or something.
I'll buy her a face flannel. And it's a shame because, I know what it's like to be in love, and if he really thinks that this girl is the one, then I reckon, to be honest, he's got to knock the oat sowing on the head.
I just think it's not worth the risk for the sake of how many do it with us were there?
2.
2 do it with us. I don't think it's worth the risk. You've got to mug them off. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Remain chaste.
Remain chaste. So I think that's that done. And we now have on the line Dougie, who has a slightly less difficult problem to talk about, I think. Dougie, are you there?
Hello, yeah. Well, basically, I've just moved into this new house, and I appear to be the only person sort of stocking up on milk and toilet roll. I don't know how to broach it with the house.
What's your bread situation, Dougie?
Well, I try and avoid bread because I'm trying to watch my figure. Yeah, bread's not too bad, but sort of it's the milk and the toilet roll, because it's one of those things where you run out. If you run out, then, well, especially toilet roll, you're a bit stuck.
So is it a shared flat?
Yeah.
And do your flatmates don't buy what do they do when the toilet roll runs out? They don't resort to plan B, do they?
Oh.
I don't know, no, but I always seem to be the one who...
When it comes to plan B, we're all thinking of the same thing, aren't we?
Yeah.
I.e. fill the plan plot with mouthwash.
Oh, Christmas.
Right.
But so I've lived in many shared houses, and you've basically got two. I think you've got 2 roads you can go down. You either start up your own sort of secure collection of milk and toilet roll in some kind of mad fridge.
Yeah, or you keep the milk on like your windowsill.
Or you start writing on the toilet roll. You write your name on every individual ply. And or what I would do is leave a really overly sort of passive-aggressive collection of Post-it notes on the fridge.
Can I just say, having lived with John in Edinburgh, he's very good at this.
And you'd say something like, guys, we all like milk, right, guys? So how about, and then in capital letters, you start buying your own blinking milk. Like that.
Have you thought maybe about having a kitty, like a housekeeping kitty?
Well, I mean, there is a housekeeping kitty. However, no one bothers to go out and then buy said
Classic.
toilet paper. Yeah.
So basically, you've got an icer in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'd do, Dougie? And this is what I would genuinely do, is I would take the kitty, wait until milk and toilet rolls are on offer, and keep the change. As a little tip for going to the shops, a little John Robbins bonus for maybe spending on a little bottle of rum. or some moist wipes so that you can live life like an executive.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
Right. It's that time. Robbins has got a very nervous look in his eye because we're about to test each other's knowledge. It's a feature we're calling Winner Plays On. We both get to, whoever wins a quiz on their chosen subject gets to play a favourite track of their choice. Now, my specialist topic is going to be Swansea City Football Club. Yours is going to be...
The rock band Queen.
Every time.
What's your song that you're going to be playing?
It's going to be, do you remember the first time by Pulp?
That's a good song. I mean, I'll be gutted if you lose, but I will enjoy listening to it.
Oh,
but my song is, I'd say, slightly better. It's Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground.
Tune. I can't believe I just said tune. Oh.
I love the way you say tune.
Okay, well, good song.
So, should we flip a coin to see who goes first?
Yeah, go on then. Tails for Wales.
Oh, it is Tails for Wales.
Right, here we go then.
So do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first, please.
Okay, so we've got 5 questions on Swansea City Football Club starting now. Swansea City was founded in 1912. What year did it join the Football League?
1922.
Incorrect, it was 1921. Swansea City's widest winning margin was 12-0 in the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1982. Who were those 12 goals scored against?
Sliema Wanderers.
Correct. Swansea City's ground for 93 years was called the Vetch. Why?
Vetch is an old Welsh word meaning like sort of wasteland sort of stuff that you used to grow cabbages on. And that is sort of right.
I'm going to have to send that to Dave afterwards. In March 2012, what player won the Premier League Player of the Month?
March 2012?
Yeah.
Scott Sinclair?
It was Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Oh, that's annoyed me.
Whose head did Swansea City mascot Cyril the Swan drop kick across the field?
Oh, I can't remember, but he ended up on Football Focus. Pass.
Oh, well, it's 2 definitely right, 2 wrong. And I'm going to throw this over to Dave. So the question was, why is the ground called the Vetch? Now, the reason is because on the wasteland that the Vetch used to inhabit, a small legume grew, which name was Vetch. Elis said it was the name for sort of wasteland and cabbages. I'm tempted to give... What do you reckon, Dave?
If you read the David Farmer book, The History of Swansea City Football Club...
Which I won't. Ever.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I think
we can give Elis that one.
Okay, so that's 3.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
I'm so annoyed about Sigurdsson.
Oh, and the mascot, it was Millwall's Zampa the Lion.
Yes, it was Zampa the Lion. That's really, really bothered me to the core.
It genuinely has.
Yeah.
He looks like he's just found like a doobie under his son's bed.
Oh. What is the meaning of this? We didn't bring you up to smoke doobies in the house. Don't you talk to your mother like that. So you just had an insight into the sort of parenting skills that I'm going to have. Right, John, I know how obsessed you are with Queen, because I know for a fact that you watched a 2-hour video on Freddie Mercury the other day and wept silently. And also, we'll justify this, even though you're a real man. But that is all irrelevant.
My whole life has been leading up to this moment.
Wow, okay. Talk about putting the pressure on yourself. You have 5 questions to answer on your favourite band, Queen. Go. How many octaves did Freddie Mercury have in his vocal range?
4.
Yes. Which Balearic island did Freddie Mercury celebrate his 41st birthday?
Biarritz?
No, not quite. Which household object did Brian May use to build his red special guitar?
Mixture. He used an oak table and a mahogany fireplace.
God, you're good. Okay, sorry, it's taken me by surprise. Where did Freddie Mercury study graphic design?
In Imperial College London.
No.
Where? What?
He was in Ealing. He studied in Ealing.
Oh, Christmas. They met at Imperial College.
Well, they might have done, but he studied graphic design in Ealing. Complete these song lyrics. I've been singing with my band across the water, across the land.
I've seen every blue-eyed floozy on the way.
Open brackets, hey. Close
Hey.
brackets. Right, I actually don't know how many you've got right because I was amazed at your knowledge. Dave, were you keeping score?
Yeah.
You can stop the music now. It's too tense.
Okay, why was Biarritz wrong?
It was Ibiza.
Okay. Fair enough.
It must have been quite the party because over 250 glasses were smashed, according to the Wikipedia page. 250 glasses.
So I got that wrong,
Yeah.
and then I got Ealing wrong.
You got 3 correct.
It's not a tie,
It's
is
a
it?
tie.
Well, in theory, it is a tie because, John, you said that Elis got 3 as well. But just recalculating that, I do believe there's a discrepancy in the scoring.
Oh, my
Right.
Lord.
In whose favour?
John, you seemed so sure when you awarded Elis with 3 points that I just went with it. But actually, looking at the questions and answers,
Oh, yeah.
Elis actually only got 2
Hey.
correct answers. So it's 3-2 to John.
I tell you one thing. I bet you Camelot aren't going to be quaking in their boots when it comes to taking over the lottery. If we can't get a simple quiz right. I genuinely thought I'd got 3.
Oh, it's because you were very close on the date. You said 22.
Yes,
it's actually
I
21.
was. Oh,
So Queen battering all 11 of Swansea City FC. Mercury leading from the front with Deacon in goal, May in midfield, and Taylor playing the sweeper role. I'm really pleased about that. So as I do my triumphant lap of honour.
he's doing a sort of weird Freddie Mercury peacock walk around the studio. Which, when I used to live with him in Edinburgh, he would do naked, and it would horrify me. But anyway, that is a discussion
can
for
we-
another.
Is that gonna? Are you saying that to the world? I have once or twice performed nude for Elis for comedic purposes, the videos of which will not be being tweeted by XFM. I just am a big fan of Silence of the Lambs and tried to recreate one key scene. So, to mark my victory, I get to play my chosen song this week, which is Rock and Roll by the Velvet Underground. This is XFM.
FM. Elis James and John Robbins podcast.
Now, at the end of the last week's show, we got people to recommend things for me to do in Walton-on-Thames, which came up with a resounding absolutely nothing. So I didn't manage to visit the Nando's or the museum in the nearby town. But coming up next week, I'll be gigging in Basingstoke, which I haven't been to for years.
You do know how to treat yourself, don't you, John?
1 week Walton-on-Thames, next week Basingstoke. Where after that? Who knows? Could be Swindon, could be Slough, could even be Chippenham. Chippenham. So if you want to tweet me over the week to come and give me any suggestions for things to do in Basingstoke. Sounds like the name of a sort of an indie cult film, Things to Do in Basingstoke.
When you're dead.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Basingstoke?
I think I must have done a gig there at some point. I must have done, but I don't remember it. I'm not having a go at Basingstoke.
No, it's
before
the
you tweet
Anvil,
in.
which I think is quite a good name for an arts centre.
Yes, I have done the Anvil Arts Centre in Basingstoke.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put any undue pressure on you, but my God, I ripped it.
Did you?
Oh, people were... I think it's the only time I've had 2 standing ovations.
Did they call it the Anvil after that performance?
Yeah.
Before that, it was just called the Basingstoke Lights. But you were so great, they called it the Anvil.
Yeah. And and every now and then the manager calls me up and asks how I'm doing, if I fancy coming back. And I say, well, I can't follow that. Can't do that again. and I turn their offer of a gig down, even though they've upped the fee by £40. So, so you try and enjoy yourself, John.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast on XFM.
So there it was. Thank you for downloading the Elis James and John Robbins podcast. We're live on XFM every Sunday between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. So do listen in. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
If you like this podcast, why not check out some of the other great ones available to download at xfm.co.uk. XFM. The XFM Breakfast Show with John Holmes.
Morning, Helen. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm fine. You?
Good. Very well, thank you, Helen. Yes, lovely to talk to you.
Are you the Helen that first had a go at John's leather jacket that he wore on stage that time?
I am, yes.
Oh, Helen. You created a monster, Helen.
It kind of snowballed, didn't it?
Were you at the gig when I was wearing the, by the way, very fashionable leather jacket?
Yeah, the Stereophonics one, yeah. I saw he was wearing the black leather jacket. I know that that's what Kelly wears, so it was like, oh no.
What do you mean?
Music that rocks. XFM.